last thing I'm going to say before I introduce the first presenter is that KPFK has a few hosts in the audience. We have SD Chandler from Middle East in Focus. We have Josh Scheer here from Informed Rant. And all I can say, too, is, of course, KPFK, as maybe you would expect me to say, but I really, truly believe in my heart, as Dorothy said, is, of course, a media outlet that is also always going to give voice to the leading experts and activists in terms of confronting climate change and other environmental issues. I now want to introduce our first presenter, and I cannot possibly say, and of course I'm supposed to be nonpartisan as a journalist, but let me take that hat off for a second, put another hat on, and when a new congressperson comes in and takes the kind of positions and stands and is outspoken in the manner that he is, it makes me proud to live in Southern California. It makes me proud to be a close friend of someone like Dorothy, who told me, man, this person who's running for Henry Waxman's old district is really going to be great. And so I'm very proud to introduce Representative Ted Lieu.
Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you, Dorothy, for opening up your beautiful home, for your leadership and that of your board. I always love coming here. And all of you, for what you do. You not only help elect good Democrats, you make sure that we remain good when we're in office. Yeah. So thank you for doing that. It's my great honor to introduce Barbara Lieu. And when I think about Barbara, one word comes to mind, and that is courage. And as all of you know, in 2001, she was the only member of Congress to vote against the authorization for the use of military force. And her reason is she thought it would be a blank check for all future conflicts, and she was right. Yep. If you look at what's happened since then, Democratic and Republican administrations have used that AUMF to justify all sorts of military conflicts that have nothing to do with the original language or intent. Barbara was the only one that had the courage to speak up then, and she was right then, she is right now. And that's why I'm working with her to try to get a new AUMF out there to sunset the bad one and to really put constraints on our executive branch for what it's doing in terms of military conflict. Both of us, for example, believe that the strike on Syria was completely unconstitutional. If you look at our Constitution, it's very clear. It says only Congress has the power to declare war. Yeah. And just so you know, Congress has only authorized 2 AUMFs. There's one that allows the president to go after terrorists, and there's one that allows the president to do operations in Iraq. None of those apply to Syria. So essentially, our country launched 59 cruise missiles at a country that did not attack us. Regardless of what you think about the actual merits of that strike, it was completely unconstitutional. And that's why we need a new AUMF, and I know Barbara is working on that issue, and hopefully you help us take back the House, and we'll get it done. The other thing I want to mention is Barbara is such a well-respected member of Congress. I serve on the Progressive Caucus with her, as well as the Asian Pacific American Caucus, and she has been a leader in so many areas in addition to foreign policy. She also started the Out of Poverty Task Force. She is now the Democratic Whip's chair for the Poverty, Inequality, and Opportunity Task Force, and she's always worked on poverty issues from when she was first a member of the State Assembly, and then the State Senate, and then Congress. And she is a progressive champion. It is in her heart, it's in her soul, and we're so lucky that she flew down here to be with all of you. And so it's my honor to bring up Barbara Lieu to accept the great award you're giving her today.
Let me just say good afternoon, and what a wonderful afternoon to be here with you. And Dorothy, thank you so much for this beautiful, wonderful event, for sharing your home with so many, but also for your tremendous leadership on so many issues that all of us care about each and every day. Gosh, thank you, Progressive Democratic. Oh my God, unbelievable. Ted, let me thank you for that gracious introduction. But I just have to say a couple things, just 2 things about Ted. First of all, Ted is brave, he's smart, and he's bold. Do you check his tweets out? Yeah. That's the standard we use. We say, what has Ted said today? Secondly, and he's always right and very clear, and he's not a politician per se who's going to parse his words. He's going to tell the truth each and every time. Secondly, you know, the tensions now around North Korea, and you know Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump both have their hands on the nuclear codes. Well, I've got to just say thank you to Ted, because he has introduced a bill, and this is probably the only bill number that I really keep in my head. It's H.R. 669, saying the president shall not conduct a nuclear first strike unless he or she comes to Congress. Yes. And Ted has built the support for that. More than 500,000 petitions we received several months ago around this bill when he, and it was Markey, right, introduced it, and I'm a proud co-sponsor of it. And so, Ted, we're going to get that bill passed. Yeah. Now is the time. So thank you Ted, very much. Boy, I tell you, this award is really very special to me. First, I have to just say I'm thinking about Betty and Stanley Scheinbaum today. Yeah. Because they were dear friends. They were mentors. You know, I worked for former Congressman Ron Dellums. Yes. And I got to know them in the day. And up until they passed and left this earth, they were so close to myself and so many of you, and really helped shape our, not necessarily our views, but help make sure that we stayed accountable to our progressive values, and made sure that they supported those who they believed in, and they didn't support those who they did not believe in. And there are very few people like that in this world, so I just have to honor them today, Dorothy. I really do. Did you? Yep. Yep. I'm glad you did. Everybody. Glad you did. Also, I'll just give you just a little bit of the history about myself, since this is the Inside the Party Award, because I was outside of the party and didn't want to get inside of the party for a long time. I was a student at Mills College in the early 70s, and I had a class in government. Now, mind you, I was president of Black Student Union, I was an activist, I was a community worker with the Black Panther Party, and so I knew what I was doing in terms of progressive politics. But I didn't believe the Democratic Party could speak to really the needs and aspirations of myself. I was a young single mom on public assistance. And I had a class at Mills, and the course required me to do political work, campaign work, field work in a campaign, and this was during the primary, McGovern, Muskie, Humphrey. I told my professor, flunk me. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not registered to vote. I don't believe in this, so I'm not going to work in any of these guys' campaigns because they're not speaking to the issues I think are important. Now, as chair of the Black Student Union, was president of the Black Student Union, I invited the first African-American woman elected to Congress to Mills College, and that was the Honorable Shirley Chisholm. Yeah. So I invited Shirley, and in her speech, she said she was running for president. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And so I went up afterwards, and I said, you know, I have this course, and I'm flunking it, you know, and I know I'm going to flunk it. But maybe I'll pass it now. I'll try to. I said, and she took me to task, and she said, little girl. Now, I was in my 20s, and I was a returning student, but she still, to the day she died, called me little girl. If you really believe in what you're saying, if you're a real progressive, and she talked about immigrant rights, ending poverty, ending the Vietnam War. She spoke fluent Spanish. I mean, Shirley Chisholm was a woman far ahead of her time. And so she said, if you believe in what you say you believe in, you've got to get on the inside and shake things up. She said, and you've got to register to vote. I said, no, not me. I'm a revolutionary. You've got to help this party become more progressive. And it took a while, but I went back and I talked to my professor and told her, I asked Shirley, I said, well, who do I call, where do I go? She said, that's up to you. I don't have a lot of national money, so I'm leaving it to my local supporters to really organize. So, okay, so I went and told my professor I'll reconsider taking this flunk in this class and hopefully I can just pass it and I'll work in the Chisholm campaign. What do I do? She said, that's up to you. That's what this class is all about. Bottom line is I ended up organizing the Northern California presidential primary out of my course in government at Mills College. Shirley, we took 10% of the vote in Alameda County. I went on to Miami, Florida as a Shirley Chisholm delegate.
Wow.
And I registered to vote and I got an A in the class. So from that day forward, I became a party person inside the party. But my role inside of the party to this day, and I am a member of the DNC, has been to try to move the party, I would say, in the correct direction. In a progressive direction. And I think when you look at the resolutions we've offered with the DNC, when you look at all of the work that progressives have done within the party, I think we're getting there. We're not there yet, but I think that the work that I started in 1972 to make this party be a more progressive party that spoke to the needs and aspirations of everyone in our country and throughout the world, I think we're getting there. And so I was a member of the drafting committee for the party platform this year. And if you look at the party platform, even though it's not 100%, it's probably the most progressive party platform we've ever had. And I helped negotiate that. I was the only one who had not made an endorsement in the campaign. I didn't endorse Hillary, nor did I endorse Bernie for that reason. I wanted to work to make sure that platform was progressive. So I've been inside the party, trying to do the work, hopefully the work that you're doing on the outside, because if it weren't for you all, we could never have a party that is progressive. And I think the California Democratic Party, in spite of, you know, many challenges we have, it's still the most progressive party in the entire country. Finally, let me just say, in terms of the authorization to use military force, which Ted mentioned, I have been billed in support with your help for the last 16 years to repeal this. Finally, this year, I got the Republicans and Democrats in the Appropriations Committee, I'm an appropriator, to agree to my resolution. We passed it on voice vote unanimously. I think one person said no, but that was okay. It was a unanimous vote, except for one. And by the time that got to the floor, before it got to the floor, probably at 11 o'clock at night, Speaker Ryan just deleted that entire provision out of 326 pages. That was the only provision deleted. That was underhanded, undemocratic, it was wrong. I went to the Rules Committee to try to get it, of course, put back in, and the Rules Committee members were quite frankly shocked, and the Republicans had no good argument because they had could not even vote to take it out. So this is an example of what we're dealing with in Washington, D.C. This is why we have to take back this house. You know, if we want to make sure that democracy is preserved, and you see what they're doing now with the Voting Rights Act and all of the voter suppression that's taking place, when you look at the budget cuts, when you look at the alt-rights agenda, Bannon, Gorka, Miller, all of them, when you look at that, you see that in the policies that are being put out by this Trump administration. And we've got to stop it. We've got to stop it. And so all of you and what you're doing, you give us the inspiration and the courage that we need to keep fighting the good fights. I just want to thank you all so much for this wonderful award. I want to congratulate the awardees, Roger, and who else is the other awardee? Harvey. Thank you so much, and congratulations to you. Congratulations. With you two today. And just say the reason I have to leave now, I'm in the gate, the Pride Parade tomorrow. We're doing our East Bay, Oakland Pride Parade in the morning. So I gotta go get ready for that, and then I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. So thank you again, Dorothy.
Thank you, Barbara.
Democrats Award. A special fan of yours made a special search for you because he wanted to be part of this program. So I want to call up Henry Stern. Senator Henry Stern.
I couldn't help myself. You know, I was a Berkeley law student before I got into public service. and you were my congresswoman for those 3 years.
Yay.
I lived up the hill in Panoramic Way, and you set the standard for all of us young people who want to be progressive Democrats, and inspired me in many ways to run for office, along with my Congressman Ted Lieu. So on behalf of the California State Senate, I'm sure you have way too many certificates, but you know, these two fly back and forth every week to Congress to go grind it out, and they do the hard work. We just have to go take that Southwest flight to Sacramento. So we got it pretty easy, and we're surrounded by 2/3 Democrats in both houses, so thank you for grinding. You know, every single day. We really appreciate it. Got somebody? There we go.
This is the Tim Carpenter Award from the Progressive Democrats. How many people here know who Tim Carpenter is?
Yeah.
We knew very well who Tim Carpenter was. She said the Tim Carpenter Award, she was
There.
very, very excited. All right, so Progressive Democrats of the Santa Monica Mountains 2017 Tim Carpenter Courage Award for activism in the pursuit of peace and justice inside the Democratic Party to Congresswoman Barbara Lee.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. Really, PDA. So,
Let me just say, this is so special for me because I knew Tim very well. I was with Tim the day we founded PDA in Roxbury, Massachusetts.
That's right.
Lived in Convention. And from that day forward, he became one of my closest allies, friends, and mentors. So thank you.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I did make one error earlier. I forgot to mention another KPFK host who is here. And I'm not going to tell you his name, but his show's California Solar Topia. It just started. It's on Friday at 6:30 p.m. on KPFK Radio. And the reason I'm not going to tell you his name, because up next I'm going to be introducing someone who's going to be introducing him. And I am really excited to introduce Mimi Kennedy, except for the fact that Dorothy's going to say something first.
I think we wanted to get Barbara had to catch a plane, but we do have some people here we want to acknowledge. So,
Henry Stern.
Henry Stern is here. State Senator Ben Allen is here. We have Joe Cicero and Seth Lahr from Peace Action West. We have Emma from the Courage Campaign. We have our one and only incredible progressive DNC member besides Barbara Lee. Susie Shannon is here. We have Kevin McCune from the City Council in Santa Monica. We have two incredible club presidents who have been an inspiration to me, Kara Robin and Sheila Mickelson. We have one of my mentors in progressive politics, even though she doesn't know it, and she doesn't know I appreciate her, and that's Cindy Asner. Past president of the Malibu Democratic Club and one of my heroes, Ralph Erickson. Incredible scientist, Stephen Franz, who is bringing the fight against glyphosate. Is our lawyer friend here? Is Michael Baum here? He's not here, is he? Where's Michael? Oh, that's Michael. I didn't know your last name. Okay. Michael Baum is the one who litigates. When people get sick from glyphosate and they need compensation and they need to get their voices heard, Michael Baum sues for them. One of my favorite authors, who tries to keep everybody honest, although he takes a lot of flack for it, Dave Dian is here. Oh, John Pelsner is running for Congress against Brad Sherman, who you notice is not here. I don't know, everybody here is a superstar. There's so many people to shout out. but let's get on with the program and we'll do some more shout outs later.
Oh, Jody Evans in the back.
Oh, Jody Evans from Code Pink. Oh my God. Another one of my inspirations. Jody Evans was the very first person to get the award that Harvey Wasserman is getting now. She was our first Tim Carpenter Award for activism in the pursuit of peace and justice outside the Democratic Party. So we love Jody. Thank you, Jody, for coming and supporting our club for all these years.
And once again, the great, brilliantly thespian on television, joyously, Mimi Kennedy.
Thank you, Alan. I love this party. And all the way up the mountain still, we gotta be here because it's so good. I usually don't write remarks, but what can I say? This guy, there's a lot to say and I had to distill it. First of all, I could not help but note the irony that the friend who has tried so hard to save our planet by ending nuclear power and establishing honest elections has the name of the hurricane that inundated Houston. So Harvey is powerful. I'm going to call him Human Harvey, not Hurricane Harvey. And it is, you look at Houston and there's water all around, nor any drop to drink. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought of that line from Samuel Coleridge, and that's from the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, in which a guy had to wander the earth with the albatross that he shot hanging from his neck, because it's a lesson that if you harm nature, nature will do the harm to you. And we need to know this. Harvey has known it for a long time. His last name, Wasserman, means waterman. Another irony, that he's the hurricane that inundated where the sea took back some land, and he's Wasserman. And he, like the great water protectors at Standing Rock, is trying to save our water, because the petrochemicals that have toxified that sea reclamation of Houston is now going to make people very, very sick. And all along, Harvey has known that our energy sector is going to make people sick with cancer, either from the radiation or the volatile petrochemicals, and that's why he wants to establish a solar topia. He's wearing the t-shirt. I'm wearing the t-shirt that says "No nukes." That was a phrase that Harvey coined. And to make this a really full circle, it was the No Nukes rock concerts that Harvey produced that, as a young producer's assistant, brought Tim Carpenter to age as an activist. He had so much fun doing those concerts, and he was so happy bringing his activism and his love of politics and people together that sparked him, and he went on to found Progressive Democrats. A lot of you might not know that Harvey is also known as Sluggo to some of his longtime friends, and it comes from his skill in the game of baseball, which he loves, but I would also argue that he can deliver a pretty great nonviolent punch and be a home run hitter for the team that is trying to restore this planet. In the 70s, Harvey lived in a commune that wasn't far from where I went to Smith College and my husband went to Amherst College, Amherst, Massachusetts, and it was both a commune and a media outfit known as the Liberation News Service. They were a bunch of wonderful revolutionaries, and there is a book that Harvey gave me. He didn't write it, a guy named Stephen Diamond did. But the smiling hippies on the front were kick-ass, hell-bent for leather revolutionaries in the media. And that is where Harvey started his writing and his expostulating that he has continued to this day. He went to U, Michigan, like Tom Hayden did. He got his teaching certificate at NYU in the city and his American History Master's, University of Chicago. So like a lot of us, he is in California now, thank God. Grandchildren brought him here. But his roots are in the North and in the East. He's seen that beauty. He knows the value of preserving the water, the air, the land in balance.
Call out somebody. We have really one of the great journalists here in Southern California, Narder Zakino. And to actually go back to Harvey for a second, Harvey is, of course, the host of California Solartopia. It's on right now, Friday at 6:30 p.m. Because of the Sabbath, it'll move to another weekday soon at 6:30 p.m., but it's going to be there. And I got to say, Harvey is absolutely delightful up here behind the mic. And of course, he's a new KPFK programmer. He's a new Southern California, having just relocated from Ohio. And I cannot say, and I love Josh, I love SD, I love so many of our programmers, but this guy is a true ray of sunshine in our building. It is absolutely delightful. He is every bit as charming and delightful as a person. So it's a joy to have Harvey at KPFK. Yeah.
Katie Hill took an early flight to be sure to be here at our event, and she wanted to say a couple of words, and Joe Cicero from Peace Action West wants to introduce her, so that's coming from a very good source. If a peace activist wants to introduce a person running for Congress against the fascist, we want to hear from him for 30 seconds and from her for a minute, and then we'll go on, because I know Robert Scheer is waiting, and I know a lot of you came to hear him. So,
Okay, I'm going to make this real fast. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to one person and a place. Santa Clarita, Congressional District 25. Okay, Congressional District 25, Santa Clarita, just north of LA. The district of Steve Knight. Steve Knight gets, Peace Action does a report card on every U.S. Senator and every Congressman in the country. He gets an 8% on his votes for war and peace. Anyway, so this district is special. I want to tell you about it just real quick. Number one, the DCCC has targeted as, I believe, not only one of the top 10, but I believe one of the top 6 in the United States as winnable, number one. Number two, I just saw an article from from the Cook Report, saying that Steve Knight was the most beatable Republican in the country. Okay, so we all want to support Ted Lieu. This is Ted Lieu's district, and we want to support Barbara Lee. We want to support them both when they run for U.S. Senate and President. But 2018, we got to get, we have 2 hot races. Darrell Issa, the richest member of Congress. Okay, and so I want to introduce Katie Hill. Okay.
All right, I'll keep it short because the boss says to. So, I'm Katie Hill. I am from the district. I've spent my whole life there. The thing is, people have said that Democrats are going to have to swing to the right to be able to win in these purple districts, and we know that's not true. And as a lifelong progressive, I know that it's going to be a progressive that wins this seat. Let's talk real quick about Steve Knight. He and our values as progressives. We care about universal health care for all Americans, right? He voted to take away health care from 23 million Americans. We care about peace. He votes consistently to give too much power to somebody as insane as Donald Trump and to spend more and more money on the military-industrial complex that funds his campaign. And third, he is, we care about having a government that is of, by, and for the people, and having elected representatives who are accountable to the people that they're supposed to serve. He has, his last campaign filing, he had individual donors in the double digits and $400,000 from corporate PACs. So we know that he is somebody who is voting based on special interests, not voting for the people. We know that we can win in this seat. We've already got polls that show that I can beat him, but we need your support to be able to do that. We have a huge deadline coming up at the end of September. So anything you can do to help support the campaign is huge. Our average donation right now, 70% of our donations are under $100, which I'm really proud of. We have thousands of individual supporters. Shows the grassroots support that this campaign has. Zach, my campaign manager here, has a sign-up list for you to join our campaign mailing list. We're going to pass it around, and we're going to make sure that it gets back to us. I have to take off for the next event, but I really look forward to staying in touch with you all. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. www.katiehillforcongress.com. We're on Facebook, too. We have tons of videos, and I look forward to your support. Thank you so much, and thank you for all you do.